Oh, welcome to a special. This is to celebrate my 65 years on this planet. Seems a long time. I was thinking that as you do as you get older, those things are altered over the years. And by the way, before you all wonder what the hell's going on in the background, what the pictures are, it's Project Cars 2, which I have purchased. Ones that went on sale on Steam. I wasn't going to pay the full price, but at £26 it seemed worth a punt. I'm no good at it, as you will see in the pictures here. As you watch them, you see how many times I crash, and this is with all aids on, and it's about everything set to the minimum you can set it. Right, with that out of the way, now I was looking back to the village I was born. I still live 15 mile away from the village I was born. I haven't mowed far during my life. Didn't really seem worthwhile somehow. But I remember the village when I was young. It had a shop, gone of course. No, a sub post office, gone. It's still got one industry, a gravel pit. Which brings me on to the other thing, a pub. We've still got a pub, but that's only because the owner of the gravel pit used to drink there. Jimmy used the Queen, that's almost his local. Well, it was his local, but he spent a lot of time in there, and we got to know Jimmy quite well. And when it was going to be closed, he found the cash and bought it, which saved the pub. The other industry we used to have an animal feed mill, and before that was a flour mill. That was closed. I'm trying to think, about 79, 80, somewhere around there. I was working at the time when they closed it. We also had a blacksmith. That's not anymore. Mind you, that's not surprised. There's not many blacksmiths about anywhere. Although they're a bit more common than they were a few years ago, with so many people liking horses now. And our nearest town. Now this is a border town between Norfolk and Suffolk, our border village, and our local town was over the border in Suffolk. That's also suffered the same way. It used to have its own bus depot. No more. Pubs over half of them are closed. Shops, not, well, banks. There isn't a bank. Well, from the middle of next year there won't be a bank or building society left in the town. The post office, the main post office, is closed. I'm not certain where you go now, but there must be one of the shops must be taken on the mantle for the post office, the sub post office. All these things are gone from the rural areas. Bus services are far worse than they were when I was young. Mind you, when I was young, thinking back to when I was 5 or 6, I think there was 8 cars in the village. There's probably now 8 houses without a car attached. It's amazing the way things change. Oh, we had a garage too in the village, which sold petrol and done repairs. Well, there is a garage opened up again, but it doesn't do petrol. I'm not certain if they do repairs or it's just a second-hand car sales. No. We had an abattoir, and mind you, that was in the centre of the village. There's still an abattoir on the outskirts which was built in about mid-1960s. I can remember it being built. They had to move out the centre of the village. It was not the best place to have one. So all these things have changed. Now, is it for the better or for the worse? My own view is things are slightly worse. It's fine if you have a car and you have money. If you got neither, you are stuck. And I mean really stuck. Say no to go to do any personal banking from middle of next year I think the nearest place, another 9 mile away from the market town where all the banks were. I can't think of one closer in either direction. Our own town, the town I live now, is suffering likewise. And you get people, you get all this, we must cut this, we must cut that. Why? It's a question I tend to ask myself more and more as I get older. Surely these things should be for service, like public transport should be for transporting the public. All public transport has always made a loss. So you shove it into private hands, which means it costs the local council even more now, because they won't run a bus unless they are paid great deal of money. And our local county council, Norfolk County Council, has got us saving over the next 4 years something like £120 million. Another 120 on top of about the 100 odd million they already had to save. Mind you, not helped by the ruling Tory party deciding to increase the expenses for councillors. You talk about rubbing salt in the wounds. You may go, I'm not on the right of politics. As some Americans would say, I'm a lily-livered liberal. Well, I'm not even lily-livered liberal. I'm a livered pinko. I'm very much a socialist. And this came about from very early on in life. When I was about 5, I just started primary school, and father and grandfather worked at the same farm. Grandfather had fought right through the First World War from about August 8th to right to the end. He had some time out in the middle when he got gassed at the Second Battle of Ypres. He was in the 4th Dragoon Guards, if I remember right. No, the 4th Queen's Own Dragoons, that's right. And they went out there, they were sort of in the second tranche of soldiers to go out, so he had all the medals. Pipsqueak and Wilfred. When he come back after being gassed, he joined the Heavy Machine Gun Corps, which became the Tank Corps. So he's in at the beginning of that. But because he'd been gassed, his breathing wasn't too good, not helped by the fact he still smoked even up to the end of his life. That did not help matters at all. But grandfather couldn't do the job anymore on the farm, so the farmer got rid of him, put him on a pension. But to save trouble, he decided he better sack Dad at the same time. Now, these are the days, about 1956, 57, when you didn't have much in the way of employment protection. But to make matters worse, we lived in a tied house. Now, a tied house is a house which is owned by the employer and is rented to the employee for the length of time they are employed there. So Dad got sacked in the morning and we were told to get out by lunchtime. That sort of coloured my political views for the rest of my life, and I'm afraid will continue to colour them. Another thing that coloured my political views was schooling. Now, I went to a little village school, 2 teachers, they were excellent. From age 5 to 11 we were at Ersham, what name the village, Ersham Primary School, Church of England Primary School. They just moved out the old school building and got a brand new school which has replaced several of the schools in the surrounding villages. From then, at age 11, we took the awful test, the 11 plus, which kind of sort out the rest of your life. Fail that, and you weren't going to get the best job, shall we say. Your prospects were fairly awful. Because you went to a second-rate school. No matter what you might think about comprehensives, believe you me, they are far, far better than secondary modern schools. I hated every minute of my secondary schooling. I loved my primary school, but I hated the secondary. We had teachers, and without a word of a lie, 2 of which aren't, with the way things are today, would end up in prison, and at least 5 others would have had child protection orders put against them. It was that bad. But when you consider that the grammar school, for every £2.10 shillings or £2.50 that was spent on a grammar school kid, us in the secondary modern said all of 50 pence or 10 shillings spent on us. Gee whiz. Not really much wonder that if you failed the 11 plus, you were done for. And of course the 11 plus never has been fair. It's not you have to reach a certain standard to go to grammar school. You have to be in a certain percentage of the top. Say the top 10% would go to grammar school. It didn't matter whether you scored 75 or 95 on the 11 plus percent. If you weren't in that top 10%, you didn't go. As I said, not a fair system at all. Well, that's my political foos out the way. But the thing I enjoyed, and this, what I'm showing here, is actually Snetterton. Now, not the Snetterton I raced on. I raced for about 4 or 5 years around Snetterton. And it's a completely different course now to what it was then. And as we're coming up now to the start finish, I'll run round how it was. The first corner reaches. That's very similar to what it's showing here. Only thing you had to either go in very late or in very early. There's bumps right on the racing line. Then you had this little short straight, and you had a right hand, a 90 degree right hand at Sears corner. Now they made this into sort of little S-bend come hairpin bend onto what was then the Revit straight, which is this straight here. This is still very similar. Now the first year they put the short circuit in. I have actually raced all the old long circuits, all the 2.71 mile long circuit. But the first year they put this in, they put an S-bend in at the end of it. And it was, you were leant over under the bridge. Now you can imagine what happened if someone fell off there. Right, this is the S. It's been moved out slightly from where it was. Now you're into the bomb hole, which is this bit here. Bomb hole. Now the Corum's curve almost straight away. Corum's is a very long, here we are, Corum's very long sweeping bend, and I just lost it there completely. I picked the wrong lap to actually run around. Well, from Corum's you went into Russell's. No, they changed all the names up now, and hence back to the start finish. And I decided I hadn't switched my spotter on. I have I'm using Race Chief, which is a as you see, they just told me I cut the track. It was a third party spotter, which is better than the in-game one, in my humble opinion. Not that helps me a lot because I can't keep on the track to save my life. Anyway, this is what was Russell's, I forget what they call it now, and back to start finish straight. I did run on, say, the long circuit. That long circuit was fun. You had the Norwich straight. You went from Sears, which was a right-hander, to a kink left up a very long straight, which ran out parallel with the A11 road. And my bike was a production racing bike, road bike, and I used to run it on the road. I used to ride it to the meet and ride it home again. Yes, not recommended, and there I hit the fence, but that's normal for me.
Exit's clear. Push.
But from Sears, you had this little left kink, which took you on Norwich Straight, which was, I think, half, 3/4 of a mile long. It was a long, long straight. into the hairpin. Now, my bike would do about 105, 107 top speed. Well, from that you had to get down to under 20 mile an hour, probably about 15 mile an hour to get round the hairpin. Now, remembering that my bike, a T500 Suzuki Cobra, did not have disc brakes, it had drum brakes. And just as he tells me when rear tyres are cold, I go off the track.
Tyres are cold.
Shall we say that the braking was marginal after about 3 or 4 laps? Very marginal indeed, and I'm making a real pig's ear of this. You can see how bad I am. Why I never play multiplayer on this, because I have everybody off the track, if I can stay on the track long enough. But I enjoy playing this. This is quite good fun. It's a nice little relaxing thing. That's where it was. Oh yes, from the hairpin down the home straight into the S's, and then you join at the bomb hole, what became the short circuit. Only rode the full circuit for one meeting. BMZ, British Motorcycle Racing Club, got special permission to run over the old circuit, and it was an eye-opener. But I can tell you another little story when I was racing. My first ever meeting. You know how it is when you're young. I used to go to Snapton regularly, and I saw some of the guys racing. I was like, I can do better than that. He's hopeless. I'll show him. So I joined. So I started. Got the bike ready. Oh yeah, put racing numbers on. Taped up all the glass. Took the stands off. And entered a meeting. And once I got my ACU speed licence. ACU, Auto Cycle Union, for those who don't know, which is the governing body of motorcycle sport in Britain. So I went to the first meeting, 6-lap race, Newmarket District Motorcycle Club meet. First race, I got lapped twice. That's right, I've done 4 laps. Gets better. During that first race, I realised I haven't done anything about my brakes. I had just standard linings in. And these were proper brake linings, not pads. I had standard brake linings in. And after 2 laps, the front brake, I was pulling the the brake handle right back to the handlebar, and brake lever. I was getting very little braking from the front and not a lot from the back either, come to think of it. So I changed that. I decided, let's put some racing lines in, what they're known to as speed merchants as green linings. Great on the track, but shall we say on the road they were fairly dangerous. It was a one finger braking on the road, that was it. If you'd use more than one finger, you were likely to stop the front wheel completely. And you can hear there my spotter telling me, or my engineer telling me how badly I'm doing. Yes, so I've done 4 years of racing. I never was any good, but I enjoyed it. I made a lot of good friends at the time. Some of whom thought at first I was quite good until they saw me, until they raced against me, then they realised just how bad I actually was.
Sector 2 time was good.
But it was great fun. I can remember one meeting. There was one guy production race, who was being a real pain. He's trying to run novices off the track. He's literally coming inside of them and trying to run them off the track. Could have complained to the marshals and to the officials, but instead a journalist who also raced, called Ray Knight, got wind of it. Him and 2 others, Chap McMillan and I forget the third person. They were great friends. They were also production race, and they got into the next production race. One of them got in front of this chap. One got behind him and one got alongside of him going into corners. And they pushed him off the track. He couldn't go forward, he couldn't go back. He had to keep... He was being edged out right to the edge of the track at corners. Not really fair, I suppose, but that's what we usually do. Now, I haven't got time on this one, because I was going to do a little bit about health and safety at work, but which I promised to do some time ago. I will do another one over this holiday. Don't know what I'll use as a background for that. I shall find some game which I'm particularly bad at and use that in the background, so you've got something to laugh at whilst I'm chatting. With that, I'm going to say thank you, all of you. Cheerio for now. Cheerio.